Tom Murphy joins us every Monday and Thursday. We always get a chance to recap either football, basketball with him. With the basketball game being played last night, Tom will start there. A tough 79-74 loss to the Tennessee Volunteers. They did show up in this game, even though they were punched in the mouth against Missouri. Hard-fought game from the Arkansas Razorbacks. Tom, watching that game, turnovers had to be the biggest factor. Why do you think the Razorbacks were just seemingly they couldn't keep it together when it came to that particular statistic against the Vols?
Yeah, morning guys. Yeah, 20 turnovers not good. And the thing, I know Tennessee played good pressure defense, but there was 4 or 5 of those that were just guys catching the ball and stepping out of bounds.
Yep.
Ethan Henderson on the baseline. KK Robinson did it on the sideline. Note did it down in the corner.
Desi.
And Tennessee forced some. The one where Tate tried to avoid the over and back. Well, on the inbound pass, the dude just hit him. I mean, he just ran into him trying to catch the ball, and the momentum of that is what pushed Tate toward the half-court line. So you hate that you go in and shoot 53% against a great defensive team on the road, and you don't get the win. That's what stings, is that they played so much better. This type of effort, or even 80 or 85% of this type of effort, would have gotten you the home win over Missouri, and then you'd be 2-1 going into the Georgia game. But, you can't dwell on the past. Got to get ready for Georgia, which looks like it's going to be a tough game after the way they played LSU last night. But I just did not like the discrepancy between what constituted a foul on one end of the court versus the other. You're telling me that Moses Moody, every time he drove in there and got the shot blocked and he got hit or whatever and fell to the floor, that none of those times, 0, he got fouled. And that on many, many, many of the Tennessee ones, the Fulkerson shots and some others, there's some slight contact and there's a foul. The foul differential was 22-12, and that's really too big on the road.
Yeah, there was a Moses drive or advanced drive that we were discussing earlier that we felt like should have been called. Tom, when it comes to just Moses himself, and I know that JD got a lot of the plays, the action last night in the last 5 minutes. Vance had an opportunity with an open three-point look. So did Connor with an attempted layup at the end where he rebounded off the board. But it didn't seem like there was a lot of action late for Moses Moody, and I was getting frustrated because that's probably your best three-point shooter. You need to at least get him in some sets. Were you surprised in the last 5 minutes there didn't seem to be any looks for probably the only one and done on this roster?
Well, yeah, you'd like to have seen the ball at least touch his hands to give him a shot, but he wasn't having a great game, and his second half was not a good one. And quite honestly, Note with the ball in his hands, he got to the rim 2 or 3 times. He's got a great burst, a great first step. But yeah, on the whole, if there were 8 to 10 to 12 key possessions down the stretch, you'd like to have seen Moses get his hands on the ball at least on half of those. And I'm not sure if he did. But look, you can't fault Vance Jackson's look on the three. It nearly went down. You can't fault Tate's second three-pointer.
Nope.
That hit the back of the rim. It was straight on. So they got decent looks. It's just, fortune was not smiling on them last night.
You mentioned Vance Jackson comes off the bench, gives you 33 and a half minutes, 14 points, goes 5 of 10. It was a huge part of why Arkansas was in position, Tom, late in this game to have a shot at winning this one.
When you don't have Justin Smith, this is what I was shouting about in the last game. You don't have Justin Smith, there's a pretty big gaping hole. You need a 6'8", 6'9" guy to rebound.
Yep.
And last night he had 9 defensive rebounds.
Absolutely.
And played well offensively. In addition to the threes, he drove in the paint, and he scored on Yves Pons with a kind of a left-hand scoop in there, and just gave them a good offensive option. So hopefully this is the start of a new Vance Jackson with confidence, because you need his size. The rebounding differential in the Missouri game was shocking, and then to see them out-rebound Tennessee the way they did last night, I believe it was by 9, is the kind of if you have the stats they had, their shooting, their rebounding, and everything, and then you minimize those turnovers by 5 or 6, I think the Razorbacks win that game.
I don't want to label Georgia on Saturday as a must-win, but there's a much different feel between 1-3 and 2-2 if you win this ball game. So it's a highly important ball game Saturday at 2:30.
No question. And the way Georgia played last night, I didn't get to see a ton of their game, but they gave LSU everything they wanted and came up. It was overtime, I believe.
Mm-hmm, it was.
They're going to be salty. Now, we've seen Mike Anderson teams in the past go 1-3 and then reel off a mid-conference winning streak and get back over 500. So I don't doubt that this team could do it, because when you look at all the parts, when they're functioning really well, Arkansas, I think, could be a really strong team. So I would expect to see a similar type performance against Georgia, good rebounding. And I don't know a ton about Georgia right now, but they look to me like they're a pretty capable team. So, yeah, tough game on Saturday.
Talking with Tom Murphy here on the Morning Rush. John, let's shift the conversation to college football. I've seen some articles on Awful Announcing, Barrett Sports Media, and some of the different websites I read talking about college football playoff fatigue. You think about the Ohio States, the Clemsons, the Alabamas. It's seemingly the same teams every single year. Now, I'm going to watch the game on Monday night, regardless if it's limited for Ohio State or not, as a lot of other people are. But do you think people are getting frustrated at seeing the same 3, 4, 5 teams in the college football playoff every single year?
I think a lot of fans are. I certainly am. I'm so tired of seeing Alabama up there, and I'm so tired of seeing Ohio State and Clemson. But the TV folks, they probably don't mind it, because I think the ratings are probably pretty strong. These are the big brand names. The years that a Washington gets in there, or let's say if an A&M had gotten in there this year, that would have added a new spark. And why is this? Because that all these programs are spending like they've never had before to catch up. I mean, in recruiting and marketing and everything they do, they're spending tons of money. But Alabama just seems to have the answers. And Nick Saban, every facet of the program just seems like it's run at a level it's hard to compete with. So, yes, I do think there's a fatigue, and what it's going to take for other programs to get up there and match it. It's a Herculean effort to get up there.
Tom, one of those teams that we mentioned is the Clemson Tigers. Trevor Lawrence announced yesterday that he is going to move on to the next chapter of his life and enter the NFL draft. You're a college football guy. You've enjoyed teams over the varied years. Obviously, you covered Alabama. Where does Trevor Lawrence rank in the all-time quarterback conversation? Not just the past decade or so, but all time. Just like top of your head, where's he kind of at, man, in your mind?
Yeah, there's been a lot of great quarterbacks come through, as you guys know, but 34-2, and I think A.J. McCarron or somebody along the way for Alabama had a similar type record as a starter, but not near the top-end talent and not near Trevor Lawrence's running capabilities. I mean, we talked about this on Monday. Trevor Lawrence's running is just phenomenal, and he's taken a lot of hits, shots to his hips and stuff like Justin Field did the other night. But he's got great touch on his passes. You can tell that he's a guy who studies the game and anticipates what's coming at him. Just a phenomenal talent, and I hope he has a great pro career, because it seems like he's a solid kid as well.
Yeah. Let's circle back to the Razorback program. We haven't spoken since there was some movement in an attempt for Barry Odom to possibly leave the staff and go to Texas. That seems to be secure. There was others on the staff that have been targeted by South Carolina. Justin Stepp has left. Do you think we're past this, or is still with some of the coaching carousel out there and head coaches like Ed Orgeron and others trying to fill staffs? Does Sam Pittman still need to keep an eye over his shoulder at this point for those that are on his staff?
Yeah, I don't think it stops until a little bit deeper into the period here. And the thing with me is, like, Derek LeBlanc has a great name in college football, and he's a Baton Rouge dude. So you worry about him. But I think I've got that right. But anyway, yeah, when you have better coaches and better results, these are the types of things that happen. I completely understand Justin Stepp's decision to go to Columbia, going back home. So I get that. And the Jamil Walker deal, yeah, I understand South Carolina wanting him as well. And look, we said this, y'all, after the Mississippi State game, we said this, that Barry Odom they would have to pony up some more money, or teams were going to come after him. And that only makes sense at this point. Yeah, not Baton Rouge for LeBlanc, but Breaux Bridge, so, South Louisiana. Yeah. But Barry Odom, he's going to get another head coaching shot somewhere too. And I just think that his tight relationship with Sam, the daily walks and all that, was probably a factor in him staying on for a second year. And you just love it that guys like Catalan and some of the recruits were so excited to run it back with Barry Odom in 2021.
What's your thoughts on Kenny Guyton? He joins the staff to replace Justin Stepp at wide receiver. I mean, I don't know much about the guy, and quite frankly, had no clue about his career until he became an obvious target to join the staff once Justin Stepp had left. I'm really more concerned about the recruiting void that's going to be left behind by Stepp than I am coaching the wide receivers part. What are your thoughts on Guyton and his addition to the staff?
Yeah, he does have some big shoes to fill for sure, because Stepp was a phenomenal, relentless guy on the recruiting trail. But Guyton is seen as that type of up-and-coming guy who's I think he's got a wonderful personality. He was very well loved at Ohio State, even though he didn't get a ton of action at quarterback. He played some, and when he filled in, he did a good job. I can't even remember what group of QBs he was in there with at Ohio State that prevented him from getting on the field a ton.
Braxton Miller, Tom. That's who it was.
Braxton Miller? Mm-hmm. So, but he's well thought of. He's moved up the ranks quickly. He worked with Kendall Briles. And I would like to think that he's going to be a good recruiter because of his personality. Yeah. So, and let's just recognize something here. Sam Pittman's done a great job of hiring African-American coaches to his staff,
sure has.
Which I think is key in today's game. And young guys, giving him a chance. I mean, the difference in salary between him and Justin Stepp is $100,000, which you can help put into, boosting the salary of Barry Odom or Jamil Walker or others who teams come after.
Yep.
So I would think that he'll help the Razorbacks on the field too, because if there was one thing people knocked Stepp about a little bit was the future development, the developing of receivers. Now, I'm not saying it was poor. I'm just saying that, that was one area. You'd like to see a Trey Knox have improved in year two. I know Mike Woods and Traylon Burks' numbers really rose, but you want to do some things to get the ball to Trey Knox, who had good numbers as a freshman.
Tom,
we'll see how the rest of the period develops in terms of coaching staff.
Tom, we appreciate your time as always, buddy. We will talk on Monday. Have yourself a great weekend. Hopefully we'll have a win to talk about with this Arkansas basketball team come then.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. Y'all have a great weekend.
Good stuff from Tom, as always, as he joins us every Monday and Thursday at 7:20 on The Morning Rush.